Well, while we were in Los Angeles seeing the Peterson Museum, the
Yes.
Peterson Automotive Museum,
Yes.
we also went to the Ferrari gallery.
Oh, absolutely.
There aren't very many Ferraris in the room, maybe a dozen of them, but they are, oh my heck,
Unbelievable.
12 of the most significant Ferraris anywhere on the planet,
Yes.
including the very first Ferrari.
Yeah. Wow.
So where there's only one of those, you either go to the Peterson and see it, or you don't get to
You
see
don't
it
get
at
to
all.
see it ever.
Those are your choices. So anyway, check this out. The Ferrari Gallery at the Peterson Automotive Museum.
Yes.
Well, this is the Bruce Meyer Gallery here at the Peterson.
Oh, how nice.
And Bruce Meyer is one of the definitive collectors of race cars.
Oh, he sure is.
And he insists on driving all of his race cars, no matter how valuable they are.
Oh, yeah.
Well, right now they're displaying Ferraris here in the gallery. Ferrari, of course, has a long history, probably the best known automotive name in the world.
I would think so.
Notorious racing company. Enzo Ferrari started the company and started building cars later on just to support the racing team.
Oh, gee.
Scuderia Ferrari, which was the racing team, originally drove Alfa Romeos
Oh, they did.
and then later Fiats. But out of desperation, they developed their own car to remain competitive. And this might be that car.
Oh, really?
There's a debate. The 125, two of them were built,
Okay.
and both cars were dismantled and the parts used in other cars.
Oh, gee.
So they don't exist
Oh.
except as replicas.
Okay, that makes sense,
And
I think.
Some people would say this one's a replica, but they found what they think to be the frame of one of the original cars. And judging from the numbers and the stamping on the frame, they think this has the frame of one of those original two Ferraris, and they've attempted to recreate and put together everything else. Ferrari's always been well known for their V12 engine.
They sure are.
And these two cars had V12s in them, and they found appropriate engines to put in this car. And it does lay claim to being one of those two cars, one of the very first Ferraris here in the gallery. These two cars did very well for Scuderia Ferrari. Here we see Enzo sitting in one of the two cars. And they were very, very successful on the race circuit. But Enzo felt like he needed to build these cars and sell these cars just simply to make enough money to support his racing habit.
Right.
That's kind of weird, but that's what they did. And to this day, they still manufacture cars principally just to support their racing habit.
I can see.
The car won the Grand Prix of Rome. That was its first win, and it went on to win 6 of the 14 races that it was entered in that year. So it was actually quite successful for them.
No kidding.
Both of the cars were dismantled after that racing year, and the parts used in 159s and 166s. They built 39 of the 166, and only 3 of those were ever raced. The rest were just sold to people as sports cars, and of the 3 that were raced, only 2 are known to exist, and this is one of those 2.
Wow.
Was just recently found in a barn.
There you go. Wow.
And started doing the show circuit. Here it is at the concourse at Pebble Beach, but it has this illustrious racing history under Scuderia Ferrari. It won the Mille Miglia, Le Mans, and the Targa Florio. Oh, my Italian isn't good at all.
Don't look at me.
And but how neat it is that this car turned up after all these years in a barn, yet another barn find.
Oh, I love barn finds.
And something as valuable and rare as this car with its amazing racing history should turn up that way. And it's now on display here in the Peterson, and we were lucky enough to see it.
No kidding.
And that's what's neat about the Peterson. They get all kinds of cool shows coming through here, including this Ferrari show showing some of the rarest examples of Ferrari in existence.
Right.
And this is a 1955 Ferrari 857.
Oh, I love the lines on that.
Isn't that great? They only built 3
Yes.
just for themselves. They didn't sell these to people. They certainly couldn't be used as a sports car. Strictly a race car. But they really dialed this in, and it really, really did well in 1955 on the race circuit. The car debuted at the 24 Hours of Sebring in the United States, but 2 of these cars finished number 1 and 2, so that's a heck of a way to roll out a new car.
No kidding.
The cars only had 4-cylinder engines in them, and this was the last 4-cylinder car that Ferrari ever produced. So this is a 1958 250 Testarossa Spyder.
Oh, that is cool looking.
Isn't it? It's weird looking too. The Testarossa, the TR stands for Testarossa, and they painted the rocker covers red on their fastest engines.
Wow.
But the 250 Testarossa was half the size of the original Testarossa, but they had to downsize the engine because of new rules in Grand Prix racing.
Kind of neat how the exhaust pipes come out.
Isn't that exotic?
Wow.
But one of these sold recently at auction, an original condition, not restored, for $39 million.
Oh, gee.
At that time, the most expensive car ever sold at auction.
Oh.
But the one downstairs, the Bugatti, replaced it as the most expensive car in the world. So this is the 250 V12 Testarossa.
Only a 250?
Isn't that incredible? The cylinders must just be teeny in here. But they got tremendous performance out of that and won a lot of races. Ferrari made dozens of these things to sell to people so they could race them. But they kept 2 for Scuderia Ferrari to race themselves. One is here in the gallery.
Oh, my.
And the other is the one that just sold for $39 million.
Oh, heavens.
But they did quite well in the racing circuit. The cars won 10 World Sports Car Championship races in 1958 alone, including the 24 Hours of Le Mans. These amazing results led to winning the World Sports Car Championship title in 1958, 1960, and 1961. But not every car in the room's a race car.
Oh, it sure isn't.
In 1961, Ferrari came out with the 250 California with a V8 in it.
Well, that's cool.
They said Americans love V8s, so we'll give them a V8 with rear-wheel drive, and just for the American market, we'll call it the California. So I don't know that they intended to race it or do anything with it. They just thought it's something that the Americans would love, and boy, they were right about that.
Oh, I'll bet.
Very, very sought-after collectible car, just designed for Americans to get their kick in. And this particular car was featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So do you remember how this car exited that film?
Oh, how did it? He went through a garage or something?
Yeah, he accidentally drove the car through the back wall of the garage. Now, the most sought-after collectible of all Ferraris is always thought to be the 250 GTO.
Oh.
And this is not one of those.
No. But,
They built 3 of these. This is the faster, older brother to the GTO. They entered this in 63 at Le Mans and broke the record at 186 miles an hour on the Musanne Straight.
Wow.
They only constructed 4 of these, where I believe they built 12 or so of the 250 GTOs.
Wow.
And oddly enough, people still want the 250 GTOs more than the longer wheelbase car here. But this is faster and I think even better looking than the 250 GTO, so go figure. But potentially it's the most valuable Ferrari in the room.
And there we were with it.
And there we were with it. Unfortunately, not a lot of LMBs were used in competitive events. By this time, a lot of the teams were driving mid-engine cars, and while this thing was enormously fast, it just really wasn't raced all that much. So I think Ferrari realized the handwriting was on the wall. They needed a mid-engine car.
Yes.
And there it is, the 250 LM.
Oh, boy.
first at Le Mans in 1965.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
that worked for them.
Yes.
Very fast, very, very competitive car. They only built 32 of them, mostly for other people, and they were a V6.
Imagine that, a V6.
Yeah, not typical of Ferrari. But it did really well, won Le Mans in 63, but it was the last Le Mans victory for Ferrari because they shifted their emphasis away from Grand Prix and toward Formula One.
Okay.
So most of these cars were being driven by other racing teams. Ferrari was sort of losing interest in favor of these cars.
Yes.
Formula One. And this is Niki Lauda's Formula car from 1976. Just a legendary rollout for Ferrari in Formula One. Niki Lauda raced this through the first half of the season, crashed and burned badly at the German Grand Prix, almost burned to death, and was out for 6 weeks.
Gee.
And then he's back in the car
He's
again.
back in there. Wow.
In spite of being out for that amount of time in the middle of the race season, he lost to James Hunt that year in the drivers' competition by 1 point. So that just speaks to how many victories this car was able to turn in 76. And since that time, Ferrari's been legendary in Formula One. Just the force to be reckoned with in Formula One. And in 2011, they brought back the GTO.
Oh my, look at that one.
Isn't that gorgeous? Doesn't look that much like a GTO, but they gave that designation to this. This car knocked the Ferrari Enzo off the platform for fastest street Ferrari ever produced.
It looks fast.
And the odd thing is, it doesn't have that fast of a top speed, but it will dominate any track you put it on. So how amazing is it to be at the Peterson and see $500 million worth of Ferraris, all collected by private individuals? That is some significant screwing around. Well, those are some just amazing cars.
No kidding.
Ferrari. What can you say about Ferrari?
Except it's everybody's dream.
It's the dream car. It's like everybody's most special, oh, if I had a Ferrari.
Yeah, no kidding.
But if you had to go looking for the most spectacular Ferraris in the history of Ferraris, there they are.
Yes.
I'd be willing to bet there's some museums somewhere in Italy that are even better than that, but I don't know. Maybe not. That's a pretty amazing collection of Ferraris.
One of the best.
At the Peterson. Certainly the best one in the United States, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't know of any others.
Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop over to the channel. And while you're over there, subscribe to the channel. And the way to subscribe, the real easy way to subscribe, is to click on the blue button. Zoink! Right there, it says subscribe, unless it's not supported on your device, in which case you'll have to navigate over to the channel and subscribe that way. Just search for Toyman Television
You'll find it.
and hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, zoink! Zoink! Blue button right here. Says subscribe, means exactly what it says. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again in a week. Well, probably on Tuesday.
Maybe sooner.
Yeah.
You never know with us.
With some more massive screwing around. We'll see you
See
then.
ya, bye.
Bye-bye.